Shabbat Shalom, it's Rabbi David Baron of Temple of the Arts with my weekly Torah Talk. And this week the Torah portion is very relevant to what's going on in our world. It's the portion of Acharemot Kedoshim, combined Torah portion, talks about after the death of the sons of Aaron. It's the traditional portion that's read on Yom Kippur, on the Day of Atonement. And it is really critical because it speaks about the Day of Atonement as a day of fasting, afflicting our souls, reconciliation, and healing and forgiveness. And those are all important themes with what we've been going through as a nation now that finally the trial of Derek Chauvin is completed and that he's been convicted and will serve a sentence in jail for that horrific murder of George Floyd. Listen, George Floyd was no angel. I don't consider him a hero at all. He had done some dastardly things, but he did not deserve to die in such a cruel and brutal way. And for me, it's the inhumanity of that officer not lifting his knee for 1 second or for 1 minute. That's horrible brutality, and that needs to be corrected in our world and our society. And if there are racist cops or racists of any profession, they need to be rooted out. And that's something that we all have to do together. We all have a role there. If we hear a racist comment or a bigoted comment, we have to stand up and say, that's not going to be spoken in my presence. I don't accept that kind of behavior, because that kind of thinking, those kinds of words lead to the kind of prejudice that can result in such brutality. So all of us have a role to play there. But we also have to, on a very important level, forgive. We have to forgive ourselves for any times that we've felt or experienced a prejudice, be it based on a stereotype we believe about a person or a group of people. We have to forgive those who've committed the crimes after they serve their time in prison, after they're punished. And we have to also forgive the victim in a way, because this was not an innocent victim. You know, a lot of my friends talk about questions they have about supporting an organization like Black Lives Matter, even though they 100% support the idea that Black lives do matter. One of them said to me, all Black lives matter. That means the 3-year-old girl who was killed in the drive-by shooting in downtown Chicago, as well as George Floyd. So again, the idea is that we broaden our perspective in this and that we come to accept and listen to one another and heal. And that healing comes about when we forgive. Forgiving is a very tough thing to do. If someone's hurt you, if someone's hurt your feelings, your reputation, it's very hard to forgive them. But we have to work on that. And our tradition teaches us that we have that one holy day where we ask God for forgiveness. One another, we have to ask for forgiveness all year long. And there was a custom of doing so at the full moon. The rabbis in Safat, in the city of the Kabbalah, they would have a special midnight session, a midnight healing and correction session, and it would be preceded by a confession. And they would try to correct and heal and forgive one another every month, not wait for a whole year to go by. And that's, I think, very instructive for us in our personal lives. We shouldn't wait a whole year to go by for Yom Kippur, the holy day of forgiveness. We should forgive one another in the moment, or at least in that day, or in that week, or certainly in that month, and not allow that to go unresponded to during the course of an entire year. The lessons of Yom Kippur are also important on another level, because it was a holy day, the only day where the high priest could enter into the inner sanctum, the Holy of Holies, and speak God's name and ask for forgiveness for all of the people. So it was a very powerful and special day. And in the instructions that the high priest, the Kohen Gadol, was given, he was told how to pray. And he prayed in a certain way. And I think that way is instructive for us as well. First, he prayed for himself. Then he prayed for his family. Then he prayed for all of the people. And I think there's a lesson there for us as well. First, we have to correct our own place and pray for ourselves. Then we can broaden our prayer to include our family and immediate circle of friends. and then we can broaden it to include our entire community and others who live with us in that community, be they of our faith or of other faiths, it doesn't really matter. So that idea of praying for and forgiving one another is essential to living a good and complete life. And I hope we can take these lessons from the Torah and implement them in our daily living, in healing and forgiving one another and allowing our nation to now at last to heal from this terrible episode. Shabbat Shalom.